Well, good morning, my greasy little gremlins. How are you? Good, I hope. So, last night, Liz and I we're gonna watch a little TV, have a little Malibu and Coke, snuggle a little bit. We didn't do any of that. No. Instead, wow, that guy just took the left-hand turn really sharply and almost hit the guy who was taking a right-hand turn. Wow. See, there are moments like this that you can kind of experience in real time, kind of like those Russian dash cams that you see all over YouTube. Ha! Well, okay, so last night, instead of Liz and I, having a nice relaxing evening, we installed a shower curtain rod because we're renovating the bathroom right now. It's looking really good. We're a little surprised how bright the green is. It's kind of a fluorescent green paint on the wall. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, we also changed the tire on our truck. We together, yes, Liz and I do these nice meaningful moments. Like, hey honey, what do you want to do tonight? Let's go change the tire on the truck. Sure. And so it was all dark last night, and we were making all sorts of clanging noises, the tire iron trying to lower the tire, and I'm sure we woke up all the neighbors. Neighbors, if you're listening to this, I apologize. So there we were, and we got the tire off, and Liz looked at me and said, now, for the spare tire, putting it on, be sure that the holes actually line up with the bolts. I was like, what? She said, make sure there are enough holes as there are enough bolts. Oh, and then it hit me. The fantastic story when we were there in Sierra Leone of when we got a flat tire on Lewis's van. So as you know, Lewis, our good friend there in Africa, he purchased a van. And this was sort of, you know those vans with really no engines in the front? Matter of fact, this engine was underneath the two front seats. So if you were going for a really long ways, it got really hot because you were sitting on the engine. Oh, wow. So Lewis purchased this van, and it was a very nice van by Africa standards. And it was a Kia, I think. And he outfitted it with bars and everything, because welding is so cheap there in Sierra Leone. Just for $500 you could outfit your whole van with bars on the outside and on the inside, and grill guard. It was so cool. It was like an apocalypse vehicle. If in fact we had gone into a riot of some kind, which years later, when I was in Togo driving in the same van, we actually almost were in a riot. But I digress. It would have kept us relatively safe until they poked their machetes through and skewered us like that. But anyway, we got a flat tire. We pulled over onto the side of the road, and we're like, okay, let's do this. We can do this. We're men. If you're a man, you get excited about there being a flat tire. Harkening back to that moment in, what was it, The Christmas Story, where you'll shoot your eye out, that one, and the dad was like, yes, a flat tire, and he wants to show how manly he is. And so that was what was going through our minds. So we got the jack, and we pumped it up and everything, and we got the spare tire down from the top and went to align it, and you guessed it, the number of holes did not match the number of bolts on the tire, or on the wheel itself. So think like, instead of there being 8 bolts, there were like 5. And then there were 8 holes in this spare tire. So it was impossible to get this thing on there. We couldn't even fit 2 on there and just kind of limp down the road to the nearest village, because we really were out in the middle of nowhere. But it was a beautiful day, and I remember the rock was very red. It reminded me something out of The Lion King. It was just a very eerie part of Sierra Leone. And we were sort of on a hill too, or at least on the top of a hill. So we would get all of these people coming up the hill going rather slowly, because in Sierra Leone, if you're going to drive from point A to point B, you're going to put as much stuff on your car as possible. We're talking like piled sometimes 4 to 5 times the height of the actual vehicle. There were some cars, I kid you not, some cars had bars welded onto each of the corners that stuck straight up, almost like a crown going up like this, if you can picture that. And then they would load stuff on top of the car and get like a net or a rope and wrap it around these skewers that were sticking up. So it was so sketchy looking. Wow. Oh, wow. And you'd see these cars go around corners, and you'd see them sort of go up on 2 wheels and then they'd go back down again. Oh, you saw so many accidents on the side of the roads. So you saw these heavily laden cars coming up this hill, and the last thing they're gonna do is stop for you, because they need all the momentum they can possibly get. It's like, great, what are we gonna do? We're stuck here. Finally, some gentlemen on a motorcycle came by, and of course even the motorcycles are very heavily laden. They're very nice, and they asked us if we needed any assistance, and of course Sierra Leone people are wildly friendly. You can just walk up to any of them and just, bam, they're your best friend. I love it. And so they offered to take Lewis and Bassie. I think there were 2 motorcycles. How did we get 2 people and a tire? Anyway, they took it to the nearest village and got it patched. And it took a really, really long time. But hey, I shouldn't complain. It's just this isn't Les Schwab here. It's like, yeah, we'll be done in 15 minutes, says the handsome little gentleman at Les Schwab, and ding! You know, Les Schwab, they're like that. They must have a dress code. I don't know. They just remind me of... Anyway, I was going to be offensive there. So Africa. Yeah, they patched the tire. It was really great. And I'll never forget this moment when we were sitting there on the side of the road, just kind of waiting for them to come back with the tire. And you heard this loud music far, far away, and it was coming up this hill. And we sort of looked down the road, and there was this pota, which is basically a small van. I think in Creole, pota means like slow, because these van taxis have the reputation of just breaking down and just being slow. so they're potas. Oh, mental note. Great name for a cat. All right, so this pota came pota-poting up the hill, and they didn't want to stop. But I was there with Liz, and the guy who was driving, he leaned out the window and he shouted, "Hey, how much for the woman?" And it was like something totally out of Blues Brothers. "Hey, how much for the woman? Hey, I want to buy your woman. I want to buy her." Of course, as this guy said this, he had a big smile on his face. And quick as can be, I shot back. I said, "I'll trade you the van for the woman." And he, and his voice, or his face, just kind of went from this big smile to a slightly smaller smile, as he sort of considered this for a moment. But of course, they couldn't stop because they were on a hill and they had to just keep going. But at that, Liz, of course, hit me. And yeah, I'll never forget that moment. And I'm sure this Pota driver will never forget the moment that he was offered a blonde American in exchange for his van.